you're a youth living on the coastland looking to gain workplace skills and experience, there are over 10 technical institutions available to deliver vocational education and training to vet courses that can help you launch your career. The situation is not the same for your indigenous counterparts, who live several hundred kilometers away from the coastland. This week on Guyana 411, we learn how the Bean Hill Institute, the only vocational institution located in the hinterland, is providing educational programs for young indigenous youths. We also find out how the government is now working to contribute significantly to the institution towards the development of hinterland education while addressing youth employment and empowerment. Most of our indigenous communities are located in isolated areas and are challenged by shortage of skills for the delivery of basic social and technical services. Recognizing that the skills shortages threaten the future sustainability of these communities, a group of civic-minded persons came together in 2000 to establish the Bean Hill Institute in Region 9.
The process started as early as the 1980s and was officially launched in 2000. The main source of funding was through the British Lottery and Canadian International Development Agency, CIDA, and then Pro Natura from England. They also got support from the then government to the tune of $6 million per year. In the year 2003, the region got its first secondary institution, the St. Ignatius Secondary School, which at the time housed 43 students. After completing their secondary education, the students had little or no chance of continuing their studies, since there was no institution of higher learning within the region. It therefore meant that they had to immigrate to study or seek employment in mining and other areas. The Bean Hill Institute was birthed out of the North Rupununi District Development Board, NRDDB. Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Sidney Allicock, who is one of the founding members of the institution, speaks about the progress that led to the establishment of the facility.
So over the course of those years, a number of children were graduating. Of course, they go there for 3-4 years and then they start to graduate. And out of the graduating students, you would find that there would be a few who would go on to higher learning. They might get a scholarship. But the majority, let us say 10% might get a job. So you have, or let us say 20%. So you have 80% of that graduating group, like I would say an unguided missile. They're out there wanting to do, wanting to have, but the opportunity is very difficult. Some would go into the mines, some would come to Georgetown looking for jobs in the lumbering area or even in shops in Georgetown. And then they started to go Latam, to Brazil, and it was not giving them that opportunity that was really a big need. So the idea of the Bean Hill School came into being to have it properly staffed and established as a training center for these young people.
Today, this unique institution has managed to double its intake of students. It now facilitates students from other regions who can study natural resource management, forestry, wildlife management, agriculture, tourism, business studies, life skills, traditional skills, basic computer skills, mathematics, English, and leadership training. Agriculture is another subject which is taught theoretically and practically. The students also have the opportunity to participate in student exchange programs, which allows them to travel overseas and become skilled, as Minister Allicock explains.
We had a group that was able to go to Canada. We had an exchange program. They came back, and today there's like 9 of them, and all of them are at this moment in different positions or they have their own jobs going. We've had another group subsequently. And out of this group, we got 6 that we sent to the Guyana School of Agriculture. And each one of them did very well. One of them came directly from a primary dropout, but was able to excel at the School of Agriculture and has been a star, I would say, because he also went to represent the NRDDB at different forums on this carbon talks and other environmental works that have been done in the North Rupununi.
Students receive a certificate on completion of the 2-year residential program. Their certificate allows students to further their education or enter the workforce. The minister notes that the establishment of the institution was to build better community leaders and to help guide youths in their future endeavors.
We saw this as a rounding the young people. It is not a kindergarten or a nursery or a primary or a secondary. It is about young adults who are ready to go out there but are not prepared to face up to the reality of life. And so this is what the whole mission was about, or still is about.
The institute has a dormitory, kitchen, a solar freezer, photocopying machine, and air conditioning unit, which were all funded in 2015 national budget. A total of $40.5 million was spent rehabilitating the facility. The institute has recorded a number of major achievements over the years. These include an agricultural program in 2002 with the main aim of carrying out agricultural research to rediscover traditional agricultural knowledge and develop new practices. Youth Leadership Program in 2002, Makushi Research Unit. This was developed in 2003 which sought to strengthen the institution's agricultural program, production and dissemination of bilingual gender-sensitive materials and workshops and outreach programs. A tourism program in 2004. The main aim was to better develop tourism knowledge and boost tourism activities within the community. The Makushi Research Unit and tourism projects are still ongoing. The Makushi Research Unit in Region 9 promotes the preservation of indigenous languages through the teaching of the native indigenous language in schools.
Over 100 students are at this vocational institute today. They all admit it has enhanced their lives and opened many opportunities for them to earn their livelihoods.
The only technical institution located in Region 9 which provides vocational educational programs for young indigenous adults has seen youths from Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, even small far-flung villages attending the institute.
With regard to the curriculum, agriculture is the focal point at the institute. Forestry, agriculture, natural resource management, and tourism are all entwined and give support to each other. These subjects have been supplemented by English language, mathematics, music, and craft work.
We now speak to some of these students about how the institute has impacted their lives. 18-year-old Rosalind Alexander tells us how the program has enhanced her livelihood.
It was really difficult, but mostly in craft, because I was having a problem, but now I'm catching up with the weaving craft. I would like to train as a tour guide under tourism.
We also spoke to some other students who tells us the journey in the institute and what are their future plans.
This is the first time I came in here. Here I came for learn anything, like any course, business and tourism. I want to start teaching first Portuguese language.
Susanna Francis and Coretta Andrea says at first it was hard being away from their families and familiar way of life. Although the program has been challenging, they have gotten accustomed to being there. Their main course is tourism.
Close to $1 billion was allocated to the Bean Hill Institute during the period 2015 to 2017, in keeping with the government's thrust of providing equal educational opportunities for students in the hinterland. Let's take a look at what is in store for the enhancement of the institution.
The Higher Institute of Learning has since been transformed into a much-needed establishment for the development of youths in the hinterland regions. The intention is to make the hinterland a much bigger part of the national education system, recognizing the indigenous people's culture, language, and way of life. The Institute has already expanded its training program to include natural resource management, traditional knowledge systems, and building capacity for both occupational and economic development. Additionally, organizational skills development such as household and village financial management, governance, and leadership have also been introduced.
We see it as the incubator for young leaders. And as long as there is a service, we've seen people coming there. We hadn't the funding, so we couldn't accept. We had to look for the best applicants to put there. Now, that is a good sign that there is interest. So as long as there is a service that is giving results, it's reliable, people will come, young people will come, and we're already getting more information of if the parents are saying if we could send our children there. So I think it's going to grow to something that is really, really needed, and this could be the change of thinking of education in Guyana.
Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Sidney Alicock says that the institution is its first of its kind in the hinterland region that will help in bridging the educational gap which exists between the coastland and hinterland. Persons from the coastland and overseas see the potential and value that the southern region has. They have visited Region 9 and now reside there.
That is so is because they've seen a value in being there and sharing in the ideas of what development should come to the community. Development, yes, we agree for development, but it should not be to the detriment of our people. It must be have a collaborative approach. Everyone must have a say into this, and not only go to put things that you believe is good. So sharing of education, sharing of resources, and the development of a strong education system in the hinterland, we see this through the Bean Hill operation, will lead us on to that direction.
The ministry will be working with the village to spend the budgeted monies wisely. Neighboring communities will be invited to participate in the discussions to expand the institution. The Bean Hill Institute was allocated $50 million in the 2017 national budget. The money caters for the increased influx of students and development of the current curriculum. This government reiterates that education is paramount and the hinterland region must not be left behind. Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Valerie Garrido-Lowe stated in the 2016 Parliament debate. Minister Alicock notes that works will be done to make the institute a success this year. There are plans for the next 4 years to have similar institutes in regions 1, 7, and 8.
On completion of their 2-year studies at the Bean Hill Institute, once these youths are certified, many of them return to their communities to either share their knowledge or create their own businesses. Next, we look at the impact of the Institute on the hinterland communities.
Very little opportunity exists within the region for the young people to develop a career path in any specialized area or to enjoy the comforts of life. Education becomes a very necessary tool to aid the process. The Vocational Training Institute is tasked with the process of the development of indigenous youths.
Bean Hill operation, as we have it now, is poised in a way to help this whole process forward. with the coming of the oil money, I should say, we would not be getting direct benefits, meaning none of us would be able to go on the rig to work. But the indirect benefits, as I see it, is an opportunity for us to strengthen our position in infrastructure, in modern technology, as the internet and communication, and to have more access, better transport, better health services, better tourism or economic activities, more community-based activities. Because after all, here is a natural resource that should be returned into helping the persons who knows about the natural environment. And we have had the indigenous peoples living there for many, many years. But in addition to that, we have also found other Guyanese making the hinterland their home.
With more hinterland students developing their skill sets, they are now capable and efficient to complete tasks within the region in the areas of farming, tourism, teaching, and mechanics. The region will be able to circulate money and help develop their own community because they do not have to depend on coastlanders to complete tasks like repairing a refrigerator or a tractor. Students now have the opportunity to be rounded individuals who can sustain their livelihoods and contribute to their communities and live meaningful lives, Minister Alicop notes.
These are young adults looking, and they know about money, they're looking for a livelihood. Some next 2, 3 years, even before they're thinking about marriage and these are. So we have to run them properly. So these projects, like the chicken and stuff like that, are going to be businesses set up within the institution, and that will bring back that money that they couldn't pay in the first place. So this money here will return for their payments, for the money for the institution, and then you have savings, money for the institution. You could employ more people, you could have maintenance, because you must have maintenance, and that is the way. When they leave, they could either, when they're finished, they could either go into remaining there to form the team, or we could send them as teachers in the other locations.
After the 2-year program, youths are capable of owning a business. They also share their knowledge with others so that they are too capable of contributing towards the development of the nation. Having a skilled labor force is very important because in these far-flung regions, persons from the coastline would have the skills necessary, and it would cost the community more money and time to have certain issues addressed. Now, the Beanie Hill Institute enables these youths to build a capacity with various skill sets. With such skilled persons emerging from the Beanie Hill Institute, the hinterlands regions such as 8 and 9 are set to greatly improve their living standards.
We have come to an end of this week's edition of Guyana 411. I am Zanil Williams, encouraging you to visit our website, YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook to be updated on all government's plans, programs, and policies aimed at making our lives better. Thank you for watching. Have a great week ahead.